Eleanor was a wealthy widow who lived off the fortune her late husband had built in real estate. Proud and showy, she loved flaunting her luxurious lifestyle. Designer clothes, dinner parties, and a house that looked like it belonged in a magazine. And inside that house, she ruled like a queen. Her only son, Daniel, was the center of her world. But she couldn't stand his wife, Melissa. Melissa came from a humble, working-class background. She met Daniel back in college, and their love grew quickly. Despite Eleanor's disapproval, they got married. For a while, they were happy. But 4 years into the marriage, they still didn't have a child. And in a family like Eleanor's, that was considered a major problem. What Daniel and Melissa didn't know was that Eleanor was the root of their struggle. She had been secretly slipping Melissa herbal supplements disguised as wellness pills, ones that quietly blocked fertility. She hated Melissa that much, and with each passing month of childlessness, Eleanor used it as fuel to shame her daughter-in-law. At every dinner table and family event, Eleanor made sarcastic remarks. "Some women just weren't made to be mothers," she'd say, glancing at Melissa with a smirk. The emotional strain was heavy. Daniel and Melissa felt helpless, their love quietly suffering under the weight of silent pain. But Eleanor wasn't finished. In her eyes, if Melissa couldn't give her a grandchild, someone else would. So she made a plan. Eleanor had an old childhood friend who had a daughter named Ava. One day over coffee, that friend casually suggested, "You know, Ava would make a great wife for Daniel." Eleanor's ears perked up. Ava wasn't exactly upper class, but she had just enough charm, polish, and ambition to fit into Eleanor's world. And Ava? She was slick. The kind of woman who could fake innocence while playing a long game. She was hungry for status, and Eleanor liked that. She believed Ava could finally give her the grandchild Melissa never could. So Eleanor set her plan in motion. She cornered Daniel in his study one evening and dropped the bomb. He had to marry Ava. If he refused, she'd cut him off. No trust fund, no house deed, no financial support. Nothing. Daniel was stunned. He was deeply in love with Melissa, but he also knew that without his inheritance, he and Melissa couldn't survive. They'd been planning to move out of Eleanor's mansion and start fresh, using a portion of the family money that had always been promised to them. But Eleanor had been stalling, keeping them under her roof and under her thumb. And all the while, she had the cook secretly dosing Melissa's food with fertility-blocking supplements. Now Daniel was trapped. With no real options, Daniel finally gave in, but only partway. He told his mother flat out, "I will never leave Melissa, but if having a child with Ava is the only way to keep peace in this family and protect our future, then fine. I'll give you your grandchild, but Ava will never be my wife. She'll be a mistress, nothing more." Eleanor didn't like it, but she took what she could get. As long as a baby was coming and the family name would continue, she could spin the rest however she liked. Daniel sat down with Melissa that night, hands shaking. He told her everything. Eleanor's pressure, the ultimatum, and the decision he had made. Melissa cried. Who wouldn't? But after the tears, she did something unexpected. She nodded. "If this is what it takes to hold on to each other, I'll live with it," she said. "I'm not giving up on us." Eleanor arranged a grand event at the country club. There was no wedding. Daniel wouldn't allow that, but she hosted what she called a family legacy celebration, complete with tuxedos, champagne fountains, and a string quartet. High society friends whispered behind pearl necklaces while Eleanor beamed like a matriarch who had secured the future. Meanwhile, Melissa stood quietly at Daniel's side, smiling through pain, determined to hold her ground. Then came the announcement. Ava was pregnant. Eleanor was ecstatic. But what she didn't know was that the baby growing inside Ava wasn't Daniel's. It belonged to Jordan, Ava's secret boyfriend. Ava and Jordan had been running a quiet con from the start. Their plan? Secure the inheritance, play the perfect role, and disappear once the money hit the account. And while Eleanor gushed about becoming a grandmother, Melissa's heart continued to break in silence. When Ava gave birth to a baby boy, Eleanor was ecstatic. She paraded around the hospital like she had just won the lottery. "My legacy is finally secure," she declared, holding the baby like he was royalty. But instead of softening, Eleanor became even more heartless, especially toward Melissa. She ordered Melissa to become the full-time nanny to Ava's child. Melissa, who had once dreamed of rocking her own baby to sleep, was now feeding, changing, and raising a child that wasn't hers. A child born from betrayal. It was crushing. Each day, Melissa was forced to care for the baby while being reminded that her own infertility. Drunk with her new status, Ava treated Melissa like the hired help. She barked orders, criticized everything Melissa did, and strutted around like she had earned her place. Eleanor backed her up at every turn, hoping Melissa would get frustrated and divorce her son. Together, the two women kept Melissa in emotional chains, trapped in the very home that once held her dreams. Behind the scenes, Ava had her own secret. Jordan, her real boyfriend, had never left the picture. He was the father of her baby. They met in secret, at parks, motels, or via late-night phone calls, carefully mapping out every move. Jordan would handle logistics. Ava would play the perfect partner. And once the money was in place, they'd vanish. Meanwhile, Daniel was falling apart. He still loved Melissa, but he also had a child now, a child he thought was his. Torn between obligation and affection, he drifted. He spent less and less time with Melissa, hoping to fix one side of his life while slowly breaking the other. Melissa felt it all, the silence, the distance, the loneliness. As the date to unlock Daniel's full inheritance drew closer, Ava grew restless. Her meetings with Jordan became more urgent and more dangerous. They both knew that one misstep could blow the whole con wide open. But Ava wasn't just worried about exposure. She was terrified of Eleanor. Eleanor wasn't just extremely wealthy. She was connected. If she ever found out the truth, she'd burn heaven and earth to get revenge. Ava and Jordan needed a distraction big enough to buy them time to disappear, without a trace. And they were willing to blow up everything to make it happen. Ava and Jordan spent countless hours whispering over the phone, trying to figure out how to outsmart Eleanor. One thing was clear. If they wanted to escape with a piece of Daniel's inheritance, they had to keep Eleanor busy, too distracted to chase after them. So they decided to stir up chaos. Big, public, reputation-destroying chaos. Ava remembered that Eleanor had plenty of jealous relatives, cousins and in-laws who had always resented her success, especially after she inherited everything from her late husband. If they could trigger those old grudges, they could create the perfect smokescreen. Ava reached out to one of them, Lawrence, a bitter in-law who hadn't spoken to Eleanor in years. He'd always believed the wrong person got the family fortune. When Ava hinted at a plan to bring Eleanor down, Lawrence jumped at the chance. Together, they created a rumor. Eleanor had engaged in shady dealings to build her empire. Bribes, stolen contracts, insider trading, it didn't have to be true, just believable enough to make people whisper. Lawrence played his part perfectly. He leaked the story to a few trusted relatives, who wasted no time passing it along like wildfire. The gossip spread through family group chats, social circles, even community forums. The scandal grew fast and loud. Just as Ava and Jordan thought their plan was working, something unexpected happened. Pamela, one of Eleanor's extended cousins and a local journalist, caught wind of the story. She wasn't content with gossip. She wanted facts, and she started digging. What she uncovered was far worse than fake scandals. Pamela found medical records, old prescriptions, and kitchen staff testimonies pointing to something darker. Eleanor had secretly sabotaged Melissa's fertility. She had ordered supplements to be mixed into Melissa's food, pills meant to keep her from ever getting pregnant. Even worse, Pamela stumbled upon photos and messages proving that Ava's real partner wasn't Daniel, but Jordan. Now holding the truth, Pamela confronted Ava privately. Her voice was calm but firm. "You either come clean or I do." Ava panicked. One frantic phone call later, Jordan was begging her to silence Pamela. Permanently. "You need to silence Pamela, whatever it takes." But Ava wasn't that far gone. She knew one wrong move could turn a scandal into a crime scene. And with the walls closing in, she realized the game was slipping out of her control. Fast. Instead of panicking, Ava pivoted. She decided to flip the situation and use Pamela's discoveries to her own advantage. Putting on her sweetest smile, she approached Eleanor with a fake sense of loyalty. "I just thought you should know," she whispered. "Someone's digging into the past. About Melissa, the pills, everything." Ava played it like she was on Eleanor's side. But secretly, she had already hit record on her phone. What followed was a chilling confession. Eleanor, unaware she was being recorded, admitted to manipulating Melissa's fertility and spoke coldly about how Melissa had never been good enough for the family. That was all Ava needed. She now held a weapon. Later that evening, Ava invited Eleanor to a private meeting in the study. She poured a drink, smiled, and pressed play on her phone. Eleanor's voice came through loud and clear. The confession, the bitterness, the sabotage. Ava's smile faded. "Wire the money," she said. "All of it. Tonight. Or this goes public." Eleanor's face turned white with fury. She felt trapped. "As long as Daniel never finds out," she hissed. Reluctantly, she pulled out her phone and called her financial director, instructing an immediate wire transfer to the account Ava provided. But in her mind, she was already planning how to shut Ava down permanently, once her name was in the clear. But fate had other plans. In the middle of their tense exchange, Daniel walked in. He heard it all, the recording, the threats, the confession. His heart sank as he realized the full scope of betrayal, not just from Ava, but from his own mother. "I need the truth," he said, his voice shaking. There was no hiding now. Eleanor came clean about the pills, the lies, the control. Everything. The household exploded into chaos. Melissa, overwhelmed with grief and betrayal, quietly packed a bag. "I can't stay here," she said softly. "This house, it's poisoned." Daniel begged her not to go. "I'll fix this, I swear. Please stay." But across town, Ava and Jordan were already in panic mode. Their escape plan had just gone up in flames. In the middle of the night, they scrambled to pack and head to the airport, baby in tow. But Lawrence, the same bitter relative who had helped spread rumors, saw one more opportunity for leverage. He tipped off Eleanor, hoping to win back her favor. And Eleanor, seething with rage but now fueled by humiliation, decided to face them herself. At the airport, under bright lights and security cameras, she found Ava and Jordan boarding a flight. Surrounded by family guards, Eleanor stepped forward and demanded, "Give the money back, now." Ava, cornered and exposed, had no choice. With a final glare and biting words, she agreed to return the funds, knowing the game was over. With Ava and Jordan caught, the house fell into a heavy silence. The family of three gathered in the living room. Eleanor sat alone in a corner of the room. The proud, commanding matriarch was gone. In her place was a woman hollowed out by guilt, staring at the people she had hurt the most. Daniel sat beside Melissa, gripping her hand like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. His eyes searched hers, pleading silently for grace. Melissa looked at him, really looked at him, and her heart swelled with sorrow. Despite everything, she still loved him. "I can't forget what you let happen," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm willing to forgive. If we want a future, we have to start somewhere." Daniel's throat tightened. He nodded slowly, tears brimming. "I swear to you, I'll make it right." As they leaned into each other, Eleanor stood up slowly, her shoulders hunched with shame. "Melissa, Daniel," her voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I've let pride and control turn me into someone I can't even recognize. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to try. I want to fix what I've broken." Melissa looked up, her expression soft but guarded. She didn't see a villain anymore. She saw a woman broken by her own choices. "It won't be easy," she said, "but maybe we can start to heal." In the weeks that followed, Eleanor began making things right. 7 months later, something miraculous happened. Melissa got pregnant. The news was quiet, almost sacred. And this time, the joy was real, not forced, not manipulated. Just genuine love and the promise of a new beginning. She and Daniel built their life back, slowly but beautifully. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't stop here. The next one is even more powerful. Tap to watch the next story now, and let the drama continue.